What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and the Doc coming back at you today, talking about Calvin Ridley, Ethan. And this is somebody who's been in the news a lot here recently, mostly because a lot of people are excited he's the new alpha in Atlanta now that there's no Julio Jones. But then we come to find out dude had a procedure on his foot, and he was not at training camp. So this is definitely something that we need to discuss because there's a lot of people interested in Calvin Ridley this year.
Yes, and it's not training camp yet. It is mini camp.
Whatever. It's camp.
It's camp.
Are they training there? Are they training?
Technically, yes.
Okay, so I'm not exactly wrong. Go ahead, as you were.
Yeah, so Calvin Ridley, he has this minor surgery on his left ankle. Minor, in quotations. That's what it was described as. Basically, what they did was an arthroscopic surgery. They went in, they described it as a minor cleanup. What that is they make little incisions. They go in with a scope, arthroscopic, which is just a little camera that they can look around in the joint, clean up some stuff, scar tissue, loose bodies like bone fragments or cartilage fragments. They clean all that stuff up, make sure everything looks good and tight. And then they pull all the cameras out, restitch it up, and then he rehabs for a few weeks. And that's where he's at right now. So he's been rehabbing. And the thing with Ridley, and the thing that has got people a little bit more concerned, is this actually isn't the first time that we have seen him have a cleanup procedure on this ankle. He sprained his ankle way back in 2018. And in 2019, that offseason, he had a similar procedure to clean it up. We found out last year he was dealing with, for the majority of the season, inflammation, pain in that ankle once again. He had a midfoot sprain kind of midway through the year, and now he's had the second procedure. So now we're talking 2 ankle procedures in 3 years. Is it a major concern? Probably not, but it is something that's worth knowing, that he has this history and that it's starting to become maybe a little bit of a pattern.
Well, here's the issue is, since the trading of Julio Jones to Tennessee, a lot of people they've already placed the crown atop Calvin Ridley. A lot of people have him inside their top 5 wide receivers on the year, which I get it. The guy is super talented. Yeah, that's crazy, right? That redraft be crazy so far this year, Ethan. It's nuts. He's actually right now the last pick in the second round in redraft, which in my opinion, a little high. And here's my issue. If this was the very first time that he'd ever had it looked at or had it touched or messed with, or the body's floating in there or whatever the hell you just said, I get it. Okay, I understand it. It's no big deal. But to me, it seems somewhat reoccurring because it's happened more than once. And I don't know if I want to trust foot injuries in a wide receiver and having to take that risk in the second round of fantasy football drafts. To me, it just seems like something I kind of want somebody else to kind of maybe deal with now.
I see where that's concerning. I don't think we have enough information yet to for sure, we're going to write him off 100%. We do have some time. It is only June, and he has time to recover from this. If he comes into actual training camp and is a full go, full reps, doesn't look like it's bothering him at all, then I think that we can be a little bit more bullish on him. If he comes into training camp and it's like, oh, he's limited, he's not practicing this week, he's still having issues with his foot, it's not 100% healed, we're going to hear about it because he is expected to be kind of the guy now in Atlanta. And I think that's when I can say, Jake, we need to really have a conversation about Calvin Ridley, because I think he's going way too high. We got all these concerns, and I don't like it either. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Preseason foot injuries, we just don't mess with those. We just don't mess with them in redraft. We don't want them. If you see them, we run away. We don't jog away. We don't casually walk away. We run away from preseason foot injuries for wide receivers. But this is technically still kind of the off season. So off season foot injuries, off season cleanup surgeries, we're kind of in the wait and see mode. We don't want to overreact, but we also don't want to completely forget about it, and then it becomes a story and we're like, oh, well, it's just, don't worry about it. He's missing a couple practices here and there. No, he had a surgery this offseason. Now he's still having issues with it. That is a concern. So I'm not 100% out yet. The door's cracking open, I'm heading out, but I'm still talking in the doorway, trying to figure out what I want to do with Calvin Ridley.
I mean, I'm a big dude, right? I'm not a small guy. There's very few things in this world that I will run from because I don't enjoy running. Uh, One of them, though, is from foot issues and wide receivers. Like I may have 2 feet out the door, and I'm reaching back for the handle. You know what I mean? Like I've reached back for that door handle, and I'm closing it behind me, and I'm just waiting for Ethan to be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait!" Like that's what I'm waiting for because it just has me where we've dealt with foot issues in Atlanta before with Julio Jones, right? And he'll still play through them and he'll be out there, but he was not 100% at times. I don't know if I want that headache all over again, especially now that you have to take a look at the Atlanta offense because it's going to be different without Julio Jones, right? We were talking about this before the show, and now they've brought in Kyle Pitts. Does Kyle Pitts become Julio Jones, quote unquote, in this offense? Can he be in this offense? What happens with Matt Ryan this year? Do they opt out of him after this? There's so many question marks in Atlanta. And now we have to sprinkle on top a potential foot injury for Calvin Ridley. This could go south in 2021. This could be a bad thing in Atlanta.
It could get really ugly. What if Kyle Pitts isn't this like all-encompassing savant tight end? Maybe he takes a year to learn how to be a tight end at the NFL level. Maybe Calvin Ridley's foot never heals correctly, and now becomes a huge question mark. Maybe, I don't know, Mike Davis isn't who we thought he was last year, so they don't have a run game. I mean, this team is not very few steps away from becoming like one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they could easily become one of the worst fantasy teams in the NFL just because, there's a lot of question marks, especially as we go into this season.
Well, here's another issue as well. I mean, now that Ridley is banged up and Julio is no longer there, what do you think is going to happen to the ADP of Kyle Pitts? Like, it's going to get super expensive at some point until we know for sure that Calvin Ridley is 100%. Kyle Pitts getting even more expensive only makes me want him less and less in fantasy football because I don't want to overpay on something that I haven't seen as of yet. So it's definitely something to pay attention to here over the coming weeks and the coming months, but it's not exactly what I want to hear in June. I would have loved to see Calvin Ridley out there at minicamp, Ethan, out there on the field, because I've seen people here this past week, oh, look at all the work that Pitts is getting in minicamp. I'm like, do you not realize that Calvin Ridley isn't there? Like, I don't want to continue to overhype it, and then all of a sudden we expect like the second coming of Tony Gonzalez in year one, and we get like Will Dissly. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't want that to happen. And I have a feeling that people are setting him up to fail because the expectations are going to be through the roof. If there is something not, 100% with Calvin Ridley heading into the season.
I mean, I agree. I think that, like I said, this could be a pretty combustible situation, something you really need to pay attention to. And it could be that Kyle Pitts just is like that guy.
Maybe.
And then we don't even have to worry about this because it doesn't matter because Calvin Ridley was still going to be the wide receiver 2 because Kyle Pitts is wide receiver 1. I don't expect that to happen because I tend to avoid tight ends their first year, even the really, really good ones. Like, we were having these types, similar, not the same, but similar conversations about Evan Ingram and OJ Howard and, Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson. And it almost never works out the way that we expect it to. Like, I just feel like we put so much on these tight end shoulders year one, and it's not easy to play tight end in the NFL. There's a reason there's a learning curve. These guys have to learn how to beat wide receivers in the NFL, and they have to learn how to block in the NFL. So unless we're just saying, oh, Kyle Pitts is never going to block, which is apparently part of the reason why they liked him so much, they took him at 4. Yep. I don't see how we can expect him to like just instantly transform into this amazing tight end prospect. I don't know, man. His ADP is just flying through the roof. So yep. Atlanta, they concern me. I guess Mike Davis might be like my favorite pick of all of them.
Which is scary. But he could be the safest where he's in like the 5th round right now, which is still great value. I mean, he can soak up some volume.
He's going to start. I don't see anybody else that's starting there. So,
yeah, it's not bad. Now, in your gut, tell me what your gut feels here, okay? We're not going to hold this against you. I may clip it and post it at the end of the year just to show the people that you were right or wrong. But outside of that, if you had to guess as of right now, do you see Kyle Pitts actually playing tight end and lining up on the end of the line, or do you see him split out wide more than anything, and they still use Hayden Hurst as a tight end and blocking?
Which one? And this might be a hot take.
Oh, yeah, let's keep it. Go for it.
I think by the end of this season, Kyle Pitts may not be delegated as a tight end at all.
So you think that he'll be a wide receiver delegation in
in
fantasy football at the end of this year?
I think there's a better than 50% chance in my head, my gut is telling me that I do not believe that Kyle Pitts will be designated as a tight end by the end of this season. I think that he will be a wide receiver by the end of this season.
You know, there's going to be some leagues out there that have that dreaded WR/TE, and people get to throw him in at tight end anyway.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be a transition period, but I think he will be the first one. We've had conversations like this before about like Mike Gesicki, who never actually lines up as a tight end. But I think Kyle Pitts might be the first one that we actually say, nah, this guy's actually a wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Not to stray too far off of Calvin Ridley here, but it's great to talk about the entire picture of the Atlanta Falcons because everything has a ripple effect, right? I mean, even though this is a minor procedure for Calvin Ridley, it affects the Atlanta Falcons and their potential offensive schemes and stuff moving forward. But we wanted to make sure that we talked about this. A lot of people were asking questions about Calvin Ridley. Should they be worried? As of right now, the doc is basically saying it's too early to be worried, but we get into July, we get into August, and Calvin Ridley isn't 100%. I have a feeling that the doc going to be a little bit worried, right?
Maybe just a little bit.
Like at what point do you know of like an idea of like a timeline? If it's not by this time 100%, I'm probably just going to cross him off the list.
I mean, the obvious timeline is whenever I draft my redraft leagues this year.
It's all about you, apparently. Okay.
I mean, if we're not 100% sure that Calvin Ridley is healthy by the time that I draft or whoever's watching this drafts, I would stay away from him.
So you want that 100% designation to fully go by the time that you draft. Otherwise, you'll just pass.
Yeah, I don't want it to be any like maybe he's healthy. He'll probably be healthy by the start of the year because we had this exact same conversation. Now the injury was worse with Deebo Samuel last year. And I told you then, no, if he's not ready in the preseason, he's not going to be ready by the time the season starts. So Same thing with Calvin Ridley. The injury is not as worse. The surgery is not as worse, but similar situation, foot injury, wide receiver. If we don't see a full go, taking full reps, not taking like half the week off or rehabbing on the sidelines, I'm talking like he's practicing, I'm staying away.
Perfect. All right. Well, we want to know what you guys think, though. We want to make sure we keep this interactive. So leave us a comment down below. Calvin Ridley, as of right now, what are your thoughts? You like him? You don't like him? You'll draft him? You don't draft him? You'll reach for Kyle Pitts? What is it that you're looking to do here in 2021? Now, we want to know. Leave it down below in the comment section. Make sure you do us a favor, though. It's the off season, and hit the like button for us because we appreciate that support. It really helps us out here in the off season, and we really look forward to communicating with you guys. This is the time of year when it's not as super crazy that we can actually go back and forth in the comments with you and have a legitimate conversation. So make sure you take advantage of that. So Ethan, unless you have any other Calvin Ridley nuggets, I think we're good here for the day. Got no nuggets?
I think we are. If you're wanting to know who I won't draft this year already, make sure you pick up the Headliner Draft Guide. It is dropping soon. Make sure this is the only place you will find my top 10 drafts and my top 10 do not drafts. That's the place you want to go for injured players. I spent a ton of time on it. You don't want to draft those guys. So if you want to know who those guys are, make sure that you pick up that draft guide.
Yep, thefantasyheadliners.com. It's available for pre-order right now, scheduled to drop July 1st. So right around the corner, go get yours right now. Almost 600 virtual pages of all things fantasy football goodness. So make sure you check that out here. Now the video is over. We appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.